Hey, welcome to Retrotopia. This is Sam, and this week we are here to talk Jet Force Gemini for the Nintendo 64. But before we get to that, we'd like to thank you for listening and also tell you all that we have Patreon, so you can join that for free at patreon.com/Retrotopia. You can also find us on Linktree, linktr.ee/Retrotopia. And by joining the Patreon, you can write into the show and ask us questions, make comments, or have some fun on there with us. We put polls on there. We post some episodes. The quick plays are on there. Retro Bites is on there, which is a periodic place for us to just chat, Brian, Alan, and I, on gaming topics. But before we do anything else today, let's do the 8-Bit Banter Box, our culturally elegant listener comments section. All right, and we did have a couple of comments this week for the 8-Bit Banter Box. The first comes from BigKid782, who says, I was wondering if, like myself, did you grow up on gaming, then at a certain age, kind of walk away from it only to rediscover it again later on? If so, what was the game that brought you back to gaming? Yeah, I'd say I did. Probably in my early 20s, I think I might have said this before, that Final Fantasy 13 is the game that killed gaming for me for a while. I just couldn't get into it, and then just never really made some like half-hearted attempts to try to play some other stuff on the Xbox 360, and just couldn't get into it, even though they were great games on there. Yeah, then I just kind of was in limbo for a while. Played some stuff on the Wii U, and then really didn't play anything for a while. Like I didn't play any of the Xbox generations after 360. I didn't have a PS3 or 4. And then I eventually ended up getting a Switch, and so the game that got me back into gaming, weirdly enough, was Pokemon Let's Go Eevee. So that was the first game that I think I really picked up on the Switch, and then from there it was like, oh, this is, there's a lot of stuff on here. Like at the time, I didn't get a Switch right at launch. I think I got it maybe a year and a half or two later, but yeah, then it's just been full steam ahead. So within the last 5 or 6 years, I'd say I've really gotten back into things, and now built collection back up, and I've got a few things to play on here. But yeah, that was it, and that's a weird game to bring me back into gaming, I feel like. So, well, there you have it. It's Let's Go Eevee. Tell us what yours are, if you're in the Patreon or if you're on in our Discord. That'd be a fun thing to chat about. So yeah, join our Discord. Sir Bustalot says, name a console or generation of console you feel like you missed out on. So many, man. I mean, I just mentioned that while I don't think I particularly missed the transition into like really modern high-res, games like on the PS4 or the Xbox, what is it, the Series X or S or whatever the fuck, I don't know, Xbox One. Yeah, I didn't play those at all, and by that point I was into more of the Nintendo consoles, so I could play retro stuff or play, Nintendo IP. But I'd say a generation of console I missed out on for sure was I feel like I missed out on the DS and the 3DS for sure, and I've been slowly trying to recover that by getting a DS. I have a 3D. I have a pretty nice 3DS and a pretty respectable collection of games now. Anytime I find something even mildly interesting for a good price, I'll snap it up. But that little piece of hardware is something else. So that I would say the 3DS was one for sure. And then I'd say like from my childhood, the Super Nintendo. I played it when I was at a friend's house or at cousin's house or whatever, but I didn't have one. I had a Sega Genesis, and I liked my Sega, but I think when I got it, I wanted a Super Nintendo, because that's what everyone had, and that's what all the games were that I was familiar with. So, yeah, I'd say those two for sure. Thanks for the question. And then JNasty15 says, what is your most underrated RPG? Oh boy, I'm glad I kind of looked at this before. I read these questions a little bit beforehand, because I would have been hard pressed to try to like think of one right on the spot. But I'm gonna go with Final Fantasy 2. And I know Final Fantasy franchise is vast and very mainstream, so hopefully that's not a lame answer, but I mean, it's not fucking Breath of Fire. But yeah, I'd say Final Fantasy 2, because I think that one gets a little bit ragged on. They took the Final Fantasy formula and changed it into something a little bit different. And I'd say for that first, I've played 1, 2, and 3 for sure. 4, 5, and 6, I didn't have Super Nintendo, so I never got a chance to play those. So those are on the docket for me. But I've just been really impressed with the way that original 3 games progressed between 1, 2, and 3. Did some neat things, and 2 did as well, even though I think people don't like that one as much. I don't think you don't level up traditionally, but you have like weapons proficiency in each hand, and then that's how you kind of progress, and I didn't find it to be all that grindy. Anyways, yeah, so Final Fantasy 2 is my answer, and hopefully we can get a episode of that somewhere down the line, but there's so many games to cover. It's like drinking out of a fire hose. Well, thank you. Thanks for the comments on 8-Bit Banter Box. We're going to continue on and just give you a little update on what I've been up to since we last chatted. Not too much, just been pretty busy playing games, working, trying to get myself back into a little bit better shape. Although I did attend the Harley Davidson homecoming here in Milwaukee and saw The Offspring and Red Hot Chili Peppers, and they were pretty damn good. It was a good time, and found this other punk band on one of the side stages. I gotta look their name up, or I'm gonna screw it up. It's like a Japanese punk band, and they're called, oh shit, I gotta search it. I'm sorry, everybody. Oh yeah, Otoboke Beaver. They are so good. They were like, their energy was crazy. I may have posted a video on the Instagram, or not Instagram, the Discord, that thing that we use. So that was fun. So if you're looking for a new band and you like punk, I mean, it's basically grindcore. It's like, 10, 15 songs, and then it's like 20 minutes. So it's like really quick and really intense music, and it was pretty fun. But that's about it. Right now, currently playing, finished up what I was able to get through of Jet Force Gemini. Spoiler alert, I didn't finish it, but I played enough of it to have an idea of what it was all about, and we had a pretty good discussion on it. Have been trying to get through, I finished Metroid Zero Mission. That was a pretty cool game. So we'll be talking about that coming up. And then I tried starting to play Chrono Trigger, like the Radical Dreamers interlude between Chrono Trigger and Chrono Cross. And we'll see. I got to try to maybe take another stab at it with a guide, because this afternoon I took a little break and I was playing through it, and I died. And it was like, it's a visual novel. So it's like, I have been just freaking sitting here going through all this text only to die, like probably a pretty good chunk through the story. So I was a little bit irritated by that. I might give it another shot, but maybe use a bit of a guide and see if I can get myself through the whole story without having to do trial and error and waste all my time. So can you tell I'm a little bit salty about that? Yeah, let's continue our game chat. Let's get into Jet Force Gemini, and we are going to get into Alan and the Gentleman's Interlude.
Our Jet Force Gemini, a smashing adventure indeed. Allow me to regale you with the tale of this splendid romp through the cosmos. In Jet Force Gemini, you assume the roles of 3 intrepid heroes. Juno, the courageous leader. Vela, his fearless sister, and their trusty robotic canine Lupus. Together they form the titular Jet Force Gemini, a gallant team sworn to protect the galaxy from the dastardly tyrant Mizar and his evil insectoid horde. Imagine, if you will, an interstellar struggle where the very fate of worlds hangs in the balance, and our trio must battle through hordes of vile enemies across various planets and space stations. The game, crafted with exquisite care by the brilliant minds at Rare, thrusts players into a vibrant universe teeming with colorful characters and lush environments. You traverse through an array of planets, each one bursting with its own unique challenges and enemies, all with the aim of thwarting Mizar's nefarious plans. From the lush jungles of Goldwood to the mechanical bowels of Mizar's palace, every location is a feast for the senses, drenched in atmosphere and filled with secrets to uncover. Jet Force Gemini isn't just about blasting baddies, though there's plenty of that too. It weaves a tale of camaraderie, bravery, and dare I say, heroism. Our heroes must rescue the beleaguered tribals, a race of adorable bear-like creatures oppressed by Mizar's forces. Their plight adds a layer of depth and urgency to the mission, as every tribal saved brings you one step closer to liberating the galaxy. The game boasts a delightful mix of exploration and combat, with a hearty dose of puzzle solving thrown in for good measure. And let's not forget the plethora of weaponry. From the humble pistol to the mighty tri-rocket launcher, there's a veritable arsenal at your disposal, each tool crucial for your quest to defeat Mizar and restore peace. In summary, Jet Force Gemini is a thrilling intergalactic odyssey, packed with action, adventure, and a good bit of heart. It's a tale of three brave souls taking a stand against tyranny, an epic saga that stands the test of time. And if that doesn't get your blood pumping, well, you're as dead as a doornail. Tally-ho, and may your aim be true.
All right. Thanks, Alan. Now, before me and Brian get into the game, we don't have any comments on this game from any of our listeners. So I don't know if anyone really played this game. And I might have when I was a kid, but it didn't leave that much of an impression, which you'll hear about in just a moment. So thanks to everyone who didn't write in. It's great to hear your thoughts. Write in next time. Maybe the game will be a little bit more to everyone's recollection or liking. So with a little music, we're going to transition into the game chat here. Okay, so we're back to talk Jet Force Gemini, the 1999 third-person shooter, which was developed and published by Rare for the Nintendo 64. All right, Brian, let's get to it.
Yeah.
Do you have any history with this game prior
No.
to us playing it? Okay.
I didn't even know this game existed. I should have known this game existed because the box art looks very familiar.
Yeah.
It was probably in every rental store, but I had a love-hate relationship with the N64, so I didn't own an N64 until after it was actually taken off the shelves. So renting these types of games was never in my, I guess, my radar there. But no history. How about you?
Yeah, I actually do a little bit. I remember it coming out and seeing it in the magazines. I had a Game Informer subscription around this time, and I
Ooh.
believe Jet Force Gemini was on the cover. And I was actually kind of stoked about it. It looked cool. Rare at this point in time was known for obviously Diddy Kong Racing and GoldenEye, which are two great games. And then I think this is kind of the middle area for them, because I don't think Banjo-Kazooie had come out, so we had that as another example of great games that they made for the 64.
Yeah, like Rare made a lot of really good games. I just don't think this was one of them.
No. Well, Yeah, we'll see. I think it was just like I think I did rent it because actually when I fired it up and started, sorry, I'm kind of losing my voice here. But when I fired it up this past week or so to play it, um, I was getting kind of nostalgia vibes from it, and I couldn't really figure out why. And I must have rented this at least one time.
No, it's
Um,
probably childhood trauma.
yeah. I don't think I got particularly far in it. Um, renting it as a kid, even at the time, the control scheme is real crazy. I was not
Yeah.
skilled enough to figure it out in a weekend,
Okay,
basically.
yeah. So, do you want to tackle the positives first, or like shit on this game and then go with the positives? Because I'm good for let's get in the negative stuff over because there's a few things I have written down.
Yeah, I'm good to take it as it comes, but I definitely think I have more good things to say about this than you do.
Okay.
But let's
Well,
go for it, man.
let's start with the controls. Let's like I don't know if like did you use an N64 controller or did you use like the Switch controller?
I have a Nintendo 64 style kind of like knockoff controller that I think is a
Mad Cats.
pretty yeah, no, it's not Mad Cats. No, it's modeled exactly after the N64 controller. It's a wireless one for the Switch, but I think I started using it and had to quickly abandon using it because I just absolutely could not get the um the crosshair to line up with anything when I was in the aiming mode. And the aiming mode like completely reverses your control scheme.
It does. It uses the inverted control scheme where when you press down, you aim up, which is good for some people who play that way. But I
Yeah.
play with the normal mode and you can't change it in the game. And that fucked me up so much. Like I'm just sitting there getting shot like one bullet after another every few seconds. Like P2, P2, and I'm trying to
Yeah.
aim at the sniper in the tree and I can't fucking get the controller to do what I want.
Yeah, it's funny if you can't line up a shot to aim at like one little flying bug or something that's pestering you, it's like death by a thousand cuts. You'll just
Yeah.
slowly die while you're like spraying bullets everywhere but where they need to go.
Yeah, and the other thing is it defaults you to expert mode of the controller where the C buttons, or if you're using a regular controller, the right stick is your up for jump, down for crouch, left and right for strafing. And I'm going to get into strafing in a minute here. But it's basically it's uncomfortable to use. So you can actually change
Yeah.
it to a normal mode where jump is the A button, crouch is the B button, and the trigger is always fire. But it just makes more sense to your brain to have the A and B button be the jump and crouch than trying to use the C buttons as a pseudo right thumbstick.
Yeah, that C button, that top C button is real high on the controller for it to be a jump button where you need to
Yeah,
kind of access it. It's like
but
it's not as bad when you're playing on a pro controller and then you use that right stick to jump,
I do
but it's
remember,
but it's not great.
yeah, jumping up on the C buttons for like Smash Brothers, and that felt comfortable. But for some reason, this game it just didn't feel right.
Yeah,
It,
there's another
it's
Turok has some kind of weird, not the second one, but the first one. And the South
uh,
Park shooter has like you move with the C buttons and then you look around with the stick,
no,
and that was a really strange.
yeah, you do that in the first person shooter games as well. Like GoldenEye has the same thing, but here's where the
Mhm.
strafing comes in. You don't control the camera in this game with the controller. No, you if you turn around by accident and you're facing with your back at the enemies, the camera will go behind you
Yeah,
automatically.
yeah, the
And then to
camera
turn
sucks.
back around, you can't just turn around because you can only like strafe with the C buttons or you do a slow long turn. And I couldn't figure out how to do this snap turn that kept happening to me. So the camera would be behind me. The alien ants would be shooting me in the back, and I'd just be standing there taking it. And it was so infuriating. I had to put the game down a few times just because I was absolutely done with the concept of the controls in this game. And then
Yeah,
I went to the rare replay because it said they added the functionality of the second stick. So I'm like, oh my god, maybe they fucking added like the ability to rotate the camera because that's all you need to fix this game is just the ability to rotate the camera. Nope.
yeah.
The C buttons were just put on the right stick, and it's the same goddamn problem. It's a little more comfortable, but it's still frustrating.
Yeah, I just if I needed to rotate the camera, I would just really quick tap the aim button, that like right shoulder button,
That probably
and then
makes
it
more
would put
sense.
the cam yeah, it would put the camera
Yeah.
behind you, but it's not like a true it's not a true moving the camera. It's kind of just a trick to get it back behind you a little bit
Oh,
quicker.
do you wanna know what's weird is when I did play the rare replay version with the Xbox controller, the, the manual aiming was actually in the normal mode, so when you pressed up, the aim would actually go up.
Oh, interesting.
So, yeah, it
Yeah.
was opposite of the N64 controller. It was, I don't know, it was just kinda weird because for some reason that didn't work for me either because my mind was already trying to compensate for the N64 controller, so maybe I
Yeah.
just need to get good. I don't think that's a real excuse, but that's probably what should happen.
Yeah, it does definitely take getting used to, and I initially when I started playing it, it just drops you right in, and it gives you like a little bit of tutorial, but it's basically like,
A
hey,
little bit.
a very little bit. But it's like, hey, you go into these doors basically, and that's how the level starts. You land in your little single person craft, depending on who you're playing with, on this planet, and you move through the sections of the level. Um, yeah, when I would have a lot of difficulty with flying enemies for sure, especially before you get the machine gun, because that little pistol has like a kind of an automatic setting, but once it runs low on energy, then you're shooting every like 2 seconds, and it's not,
Yeah.
and you can't hit the button to make it go faster. It just shoots very slowly.
Yeah, and the
um
only thing you can do is pause for a minute so that it kinda gives you time to, recharge the pistol, which makes no sense. You're shooting
yeah.
bullets.
Yeah, until I got better at it. um I was finding that I was having to kind of play guerrilla style, where I would move in, like try to take out a couple enemies, and then I discovered that if you go back to the areas that you were in before, the enemies wouldn't respawn, but the health and the ammo would. So there were like the first few levels of the game, I was not confident enough in my ability not to immediately get destroyed as soon as I go into a new area. So I would kind of, well, with help with save states too, but I would say, okay, I've cleared that room, but I'm not going to go forward again until I go to the previous room and back into this one and pick up any items that were in there, and, restock completely before I move forward.
Yeah, I learned quickly to not take the gems right away because they recharge your health, and
Yeah.
I did a lot of backtracking to heal myself up before I went to the next part of the level.
So that was helpful, at least that that happens, but also the enemies don't respawn. And that was really, really helpful, that basically if you clear a complete level or an area of enemies, you can just have that time to explore and try to find, upgrades, or there were coins that you could collect, and I think you could purchase stuff from vendors that would say like, hey, do you want to trade a few coins and I'll replenish your supplies, or you might find those little tribal bears that are hostages and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Those
There's a
bears
lot
were
of
annoying as well.
yeah, they were. Did you notice they'd throw like a little tomahawk at you if they were up high and they wanted you to rescue them? It
No, I
would just
didn't notice that, but
yeah.
do you remember the TV show Community, right? In the later seasons when Abed had to
Yeah.
make a movie, so they tried to make a Jar Jar Binks-like character that
Yeah.
just bounced around and goes, "Opa dopa."
Yeah.
That's what it really reminded me of because 'cause they'd be standing in the middle of the firefight, bouncing back and forth, these little Ewok-looking motherfuckers,
Yeah.
and yeah, it's just like you have to find them to rescue them. But there's ones that like when you get to the end of the level, it'll show you this stat: you found 6 of 8 and one died.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I don't know how
And
they die. Like obviously they're the Natalia of the game where they just dance for you know getting their heads blown off.
There's there are some rooms where those little tribals are in there, and the bugs will kill them if you don't kill the bugs fast enough and rescue the tribals. Otherwise, they're
Oh,
just
is
kind
that
of
what it is?
yeah. Otherwise, they're just kind of around. Also, you can shoot them on accident. I think I shot one. Um,
On accident, yeah. Wink.
yeah. Well, and there are ones where they're high, they're like up high and you can't reach them, or they're in parts of the level where you don't have the correct key card to access them or whatever. And that's because I think you're meant to go back and replay these levels
Yeah,
and redo them and get all the collectibles and all this stuff. So
yeah, and you get three characters you can play with, and at the beginning of the game is funny because um, before we get into the characters, I'm just going to talk about the graphics. For the age of this game, the graphics are actually pretty impressive.
yeah, they're not bad.
Like
It's a good looking game.
the only thing I had a problem with is some points during cutscenes or whatever, the player characters or like the three characters you can play as, they'd be in a cutscene together, and it looked like they were skating on the floor because they weren't walking as fast as their legs were moving.
Yes.
So it
That
just
looked a
kind
little
of,
rough.
yeah, it looked like they didn't take the time to really, work on the animations. It was just like, okay, this is good enough. I want to work on a real rare game now.
Well, it's funny because the cutscenes, they had trouble with the cutscenes that way, but when the characters are running around during gameplay, they don't look like that.
No, they look absolutely fine. Like it's where they put their focus in, I imagine.
This game had a lot of cutscenes.
Yeah,
Um,
way too many. That first friggin' when you first land on the planet, and then you talk to the first, I guess, like the elder Ewok or whatever you want to call him,
hmm
and he gives you a little spiel about what's going on, and then you go through the next level, and then you enter the first area where you're going to do combat, and it does this robot voice as it goes through the entire level with you, and an unskippable cutscene. It takes about not very long, probably about a minute and a half, 2 minutes tops, but oh god, just
yeah,
like
when you
there
just want
are
to jump in
enemies.
and play.
Yeah. There are enemies. Shoot them. There are snipers. Shoot them. Save the Ewoks. Make sure you collect gems. Do this. And it's like, just let me fucking figure it out. Like, it's not hard.
Yeah, I think where was I going with that? Yeah, there's cutscenes before the bosses, and they're way too long. It's like it's a lot of nothing for a cutscene. There's the third boss in particular, I think. You're playing as we'll get into the characters in a bit, but you're playing as the girl character. I think her name is like don't remember. Damn it.
Don't remember.
We'll
Juno.
figure it
No,
out. But
sorry, Vela.
Yeah. So you're playing as her, and you get to this section where you're on this like little platform over like a lava, like canal or whatever, and then these bugs are like, ha ha ha, we'll trap her on this thing, and then they send like their kind of like queen bug for that area after you, but like there's a whole sequence that takes probably like 30 or 40 seconds where the bug just kind of like walks up to the platform, and it's like this is the most pointless cutscene. It's not
Yeah.
building suspense. She turns around, she's like, "Oh, like there's a bug behind me or whatever." And it's like that took way longer than it needed to. And you will die on these bosses cuz the control scheme is not the easiest. And actually in the boss fights, it switches you back to like just the tank control kind of scheme where you can move backwards. You can move like back and forth. You can't move backwards and forwards. You can only go left to right, and then you're in that like inverted crosshair. So you're dodging and everything of the enemies, like attacks to you is only in that, left to right space. But anyways, if you
Jeez.
die, you're going back and you're watching that from your save point or from your continue spot. You're going to have to go back and watch that cutscene
Yeah,
every
there is
single attempt.
no skipping these cutscenes, and that is a
Right.
big mark on this game.
Yeah.
Um, it goes along the lines of respecting the player's time. I get that you want to make a challenge, and seeing the cutscene the first time unskippable, fine. Second time, let them skip it. They're already pretty pissed off, and the cutscene's not helping calm them down.
Right. And
So, no,
maybe
go
it's
on.
in the manual, but then the boss battles aren't really um, explained very well either. Apparently, like this, all three of the ones that I attempted, I beat two of them. Okay, we didn't finish this game, guys.
No,
I got pretty far into it, but I didn't get the time to actually go through and finish it because it took me a while. And quite honestly, this is probably a mark against it too. I just never really felt the need to go in and play it. I didn't it didn't draw me like some other
Yeah.
games do.
For me, like I said, it was the controls. Like I couldn't wrap my head around the controls, and even as much as I tried to press forward, they just never felt comfortable, and it really took me away from wanting to play the game because I spent more time trying to think of what I was doing. Because if you wanted to rotate the camera as you ran, you had to hit the strafe button opposite to the direction you're turning, so that the camera would kind of turn with you, and it became more thinking about the controls and then enjoying the game. So that's what took me
Yeah,
away from it.
yeah. But on the boss battles, you're in that weird inverted control scheme, and then when the bosses are doing their attacks, like part of them, like a pincer or an antenna or like some sort of appendage will flash, and that's the only time that they're vulnerable. So it'll flash, and then you have to shoot at that appendage until it blows off, and then do the other one, and then the boss will go through different phases, and as it's happening, you'll see like the part that you're supposed to attack just like flash really quick, and then it's vulnerable for that point of time, usually when it's firing at you. um so
Yeah.
that makes it real difficult. So each boss took me several attempts before I could beat them. And thank fuck
Big
for save states, because like I would have had to go back to my continue, watch the cutscene. It just
my
no.
my first playthrough of the game, I didn't know it didn't I thought it auto saved when you got to those little like you get to a door and this little thing will flash green and it looks like a save point in the
No.
classic sense.
Yeah.
That's what I thought it was. So I didn't actually go into the menu and save the game. So when I died, I was like, "All right, do you want to start from your last save?" I'm like, "Sure." And then all of a sudden, it was right back at the fucking beginning. I put the controller down. I went to Metroid friggin' Zero Mission, and I
Yep.
almost never looked back.
Yeah.
Like I was just, oh man, I was fucking done. Like I was so angry. Now it's just like every step, pause, save, step, pause, save, step, pause, save. It's
Yeah,
not
I
that
did
bad,
save
but
state a lot, mostly because the game kind of takes you through the levels in a way that's a little bit confusing, and I just didn't feel comfortable that I had kind of a kind of central hub to save my game. Or everything takes place, they're traveling around in their little jet force Gemini starship, and each of the characters has their own little ship that they pilot to the planets or to the enemy battle cruiser, whatever the level is. But the way that it progresses from level to level just doesn't feel right to me. It just goes on to the next one. It doesn't really explain what you're doing. There's no objective. It's just you're on this planet, and you got to fight your way through. There's a little bit of story elements, but it's kind of few and far between. Um, like one in
yeah.
particular, I was just kind of going with the flow, and there's a point where well, let's talk about the characters, then we'll talk about like how the story is a little bit nonlinear. Does that sound good?
No, that works for me completely.
Yeah, you start as the the male character Juno, and um, each character has their own separate set of weapons and upgrades and stuff like that. So if you pick up, let's say you're Juno, and you pick up the machine gun and the rocket launcher and maybe some grenades or whatever, those items that you picked up as Juno don't transfer to the other characters. So each one has their own separate set of, you know, weapons and upgrades and stuff. So you had Juno. You get to a certain point with Juno, and you rescue. What did you say her name was?
Vela,
Vela.
Vela,
Vela. Yeah,
Vela.
yeah. So you rescue her, and she is imprisoned by the bugs, I think. And actually, that's kind of a funny part, because you're in this prison section of this ship, and Vela is the only one where, if you've played through the level just kind of the standard way, her um her cell is open, so you can go get her. And there's probably 7 or 8 other cells in this cell block, and they all have tribals in them, and they're all locked in there. And you just kind of have to leave the level and leave them in there. Those stupid little things. um yeah, so then once you unlock or rescue Vela, then she's available for missions. And so at that point, I switched over to her. And then the same thing happened when I encountered the dog's name is Lupus.
Yeah.
So once I got through enough Vela missions, I think I beat the boss, and then Lupus shows up, and then I started playing as Lupus. Well, I didn't realize that I had to go back and do some more stuff as Juno. So there is a brief moment where you are in your star cruiser in your central hub, and you can choose between the three characters. So the menus are just a little bit confusing because I was just naturally progressing through the game, and it progressed me, Juno to a point, and then made Vela available. So I take her and play a few levels, and then her story comes to kind of a natural little mini conclusion, and then you go to Lupus. But it turns out that I had to go back and do a whole bunch of stuff as Juno
Yeah, because they
in
all have
order to
their
progress
own
the game.
special abilities. Like
Yeah.
Vela can swim underwater without needing to hold her breath, or sorry,
Can she
without
really?
without losing her breath.
Yeah,
And
I
then
I never figured that out because there are definitely parts of levels that are meant for the other characters.
yeah, Lupus can fly for a short amount of time, a little rocket
Yeah, he's
boost.
he's got little rockets in his paws. Lupus is my favorite character by far.
Oh
He
yeah.
was maybe it was because I was getting better at the game, but he felt the most natural to control in that weird scheme. Um, Maybe it was almost because he was lower to the ground. I also found that he could get around. There were ants or like these bug soldiers that had um, big like riot shields, and they were really tough to kill unless you had the rocket launcher. But I found that they would kind of plant themselves, and it was really easy to like run around them with Lupus and shoot them from the sides or the back where they were vulnerable. So he was
Oh,
kind of cool. He's a squirrely little
yeah,
character.
I never got Lupus.
Yeah, but it was okay. One thing with the sound, uh, it was very upsetting that they made Lupus whine when he got hit with
Oh,
stuff. I was really
yeah. Why
upset
did they
about
do?
that.
Yeah, why did they do that to dogs?
Yeah, it's like, wait a second, wait a second. So you had to hurt a dog to get this sound clip, or someone did. I don't appreciate that. Like who hurt their dog and then had the recording thing on and was like, all right, this is perfect for Lupus.
Yeah, when I was doing the script writing course, one of the things they told us was if you ever want to hurt a kid or a dog, you better be goddamn famous. Otherwise,
Yeah,
it'll never work in your story, right?
yeah, you don't just do that.
Yeah. It, yeah, people love kids and dogs more than they love watching other people. So just let the adults there get hurt.
Right. Yeah. I don't care who dies. Just don't hurt the dog.
Yeah, kill Juno and Vela. Make the whole game about Lupus.
Yeah, for sure. Actually, that would be a better game.
Actually,
There
all I
is
can think of is House right now. It's not Lupus.
yeah, it is a disease, a pretty terrible disease. I was like, why that was what you went with, huh?
Yeah, this is the early 2000s, late 90s. Yeah,
um
House didn't exist yet.
well, Lupus sure did.
Yeah, but nobody knew what it was because there was no house to explain
Yeah,
it
I
to us.
suppose. I suppose we need House to explain it to us. Um, there is one more little side character actually that is pretty cool. Floyd is like the little flying
Flying
robot.
spaceship. Yeah.
Yeah, so he follows you around as like a sidekick once you find him and put him together. He defects from okay, so the evil insect king or whatever is Mizar, or maybe that's their planet or their race or whatever. But he defects from the bug aliens, and in revenge or whatever, they blow him apart and his pieces are scattered around. So you got to put him back together as Juno. That was part of the part that I had to go back for. Um, so you put him together, and he, I guess, is able to detect enemies. So if there's enemies nearby, he'll make noises and turn colors and stuff. So that's kind of useful. Um, and then he also can fit into like small holes and stuff and go in and gather items, or um I guess when you get to this is the part where I progressed as far as I could and then got stuck and had to go back because when you go to the Mizar Palace about halfway through the game, I'd say he actually he flies up and activates the stuff to activate the pyramid so you can go in and fight the boss.
Oh.
So that's where I stopped. I was like, shit, I'm stuck. I can't do anything in here. And I actually had to go back in the menu and go to the map and go back and switch characters. You can switch characters at any point, but you go back to their where they were in the progress of the game. So I had to figure out how to go back, and that's where I discovered that you could switch characters like that. Because I would just play until I was like, well, I'll eventually get to another point where I'm back at the ship and have like a little reset and figure out what the hell I'm doing. And it's like the game just never does that. So I was like, well, I guess I'm just playing until whenever. It could have used for a lot more um maybe not dialogue, but not having communicated everything by cutscenes. It was just a lot of long cutscenes of ships landing in
Yeah,
different places. And it's like, well, where the fuck am I and why am I here? It's not explained.
yeah, a little bit of storytelling goes a long way.
Yeah,
Uh,
they do very little. It's very few and far between that you'll come upon an area where, a character will talk to you or explain part of what's going on. And I suppose maybe that's where the manual might come in. Um, I'm sure there was a lot of background information in the manual too, but
yeah, but
a
you
little
you
bit.
honestly shouldn't have to, go through a manual to get
No,
background information on playing through a game. Like it's supposed to give you the information of how to play the game, not the whole story behind it.
yeah, especially by the late '90s. I mean, we'd had lots of good RPGs and action games and stuff. GoldenEye is a prime example of a game that has plenty of background information in the dossiers and stuff.
Yeah.
Like that would have been much appreciated. But like you said, I think um, this game was maybe rushed out a little bit because they needed something to
I
satiate
don't
our need for perfect dark.
Yeah, I don't think it was rushed out, but I think it was just kind of put more in the spotlight when Perfect Dark was delayed a little bit, so it got a little more visibility than I think they actually originally thought it was going to. Plus, there's
Yeah.
base of a game here. If they took this concept, updated the controls, updated the graphics a little bit, added voice actors, gave it a 40-50 million dollar budget, AAA studio development, all that good stuff, and then gave it to Microsoft, we'd never see this game released.
Yeah.
But honestly, no, like there's a good base to this game. It has an interesting concept, but it really is overshadowed by other Rare games. So,
Yeah, it is. It's not the best rare game, but it's a I hate to say it, but I think it's a pretty good game. There's a good
well,
game there.
and
Um
yeah, like I said, like the graphics. I got a video going on, just kind of watching what I kind of missed, and there was one part where you're Vela and she's running on a floor, and you see her reflection on the floor as she's running, and that for the time is amazing.
yeah, those graphics are good. And the layout of some of the environments, like especially when you're fighting the aliens inside either your ship or in the alien ship, those ships are really cool. There's a lot of little hidey holes and cool spots to go discover.
Yeah,
There's
the
a lot of
only
replay. Yeah.
I was going to say the only problem with like in a ship it makes sense because you have corridors and ships, but when you're down on a planet, it does feel a little bit claustrophobic at some points because I imagine graphically or just space wise they didn't have much more room to put anything else in this game with all the cutscenes.
Yeah,
Uh,
the planet environments are very linear. It's like you're
yeah,
following a path or you're
well
um
they're
yeah.
open, what non-linear to the sense that you can take multiple routes to get to the end, but you're always getting to the same point.
Right.
So yeah, if you go through, trying to think in the first level there, if you go, you have two options. You can go straight or you can go right. If you go right, you find four of those little Ewok tribal things. So you'd always go right, but once you go in that door, you can't come back out because you need a red key card. But there is a spot you can drop down, and it will take you to the end of the level. Now, if you go straight, it's a whole different adventure.
Yeah, it's like a lot of enclosed areas where there's hallways ended up being circular.
Yeah,
That was
and
kind of their shtick.
and it really sucked when you can't turn the camera except for running around in a circle. I mean,
Right. It made it really difficult to try to figure out, like, am I going down the same hallway, or
Oh yeah,
has this looped
so
all the way
many
around, or
times.
is this a new door?
Or you
um,
accidentally turn yourself around and you end up back in the last area. And you're like, what the fuck am I doing here?
yeah, it's just like, ugh, it's real easy to get yourself turned around. And I
Oh,
think,
then the snipers in fucking trees. I'm just gonna bitch about
oh,
that one
snipers
for a
are, at
second.
least they were weak. I will say
Yeah,
they can really ruin your day. But if you hear it, like, I think the sniper had like a certain sound to it or whatever. If you could figure
yeah.
out
The
where he
sound was me
was,
getting hit by a fucking sniper bullet because it would take me forever to aim.
uh, I'd say if you find a place to hide and you can line up your shot, that's kind of the trick to the snipers. Is you have to use the pistol, and they're very weak. So if you hit them once, they're pretty much toast, no matter where you hit them. It's just a matter of locating where they are and finding a spot to hide where they can't see you. Um, but yeah, there was a spot where there were like a sniper in front, and then if as you go into an open area, there's another one behind, and they just took turns just fucking me over until I could figure out where
Yeah,
to stand or whatever. But yeah, and the other thing is sometimes the enemies would give you ammo drops. It's like their little guns. So the main soldiers would give you machine gun ammo, which was awesome. And then the stupid snipers would give you pistol ammo. It's like, what the fuck? There's a sniper rifle that's awesome, and when you kill the sniper and they give you an ammo drop, it's just pistol ammo, which you have like 800 of because the pistol is pretty useless.
yeah. Weak as fuck and great only because it has a lot of ammo.
Oh, I just thought of something too. Um, it was two things. It was a Nintendo Power, by the way, where Jet Force Gemini was on the cover, and I remember that when that.
Issue 124.
Yeah, I
I
remember
looked
that
it up already.
cover. Oh yeah. That picture is like burned in my mind though, of the three characters, and the it was a big hype for this game, I think, when it was coming out. If you were paying attention to video games, I guess. Um
I
and the
don't remember the big hype, but then again, like I said, I was very fair weather on the N64. I was all PlayStation by that point.
Yeah, I guess if you're on the N64 train, then yeah, it definitely is something you're looking for. The other thing, this just kind of goes back to the fact that the game doesn't tell you anything. Usually when you enter a level in some games, it'll say, "Hey, collect this many of this," or I'm thinking more of like the 3D platformer collectathon type games, like Banjo Kazooie. It's like find the
Yeah.
Jingos and find, this thing or whatever. This game doesn't do that. There's one level that you go into, and you're supposed to find 3 gold bars so that you can buy the tri rocket launcher from this um, merchant or whatever that's kind of somewhere in the level, and it doesn't explain it to you. But uh, there's this big open space, like really empty open space, where these gold bars are hidden, 2 of them, and then one's like back behind the ship, and it doesn't explain to you what the gold bar is. It's just this little item, and you pick it up, and it doesn't say like you found a gold bar, find 3 more or anything. It just is like
Or
gold
you run
bar.
into that merchant who says, I need 3 gold bars.
Well, you have to talk to him, yeah, but it doesn't lead the game doesn't lead you into that. It just is like, here's a level with some stuff in it, and I guess good luck. We're not going to tell you what to do unless you figure it out yourself.
Yeah, no, I get that one. Uh, I don't know, like I'm just kind of skimming over the development and all that kind of stuff, and it doesn't say that this game wasn't, given the love it deserves. It seems like the team was more of, well, they worked like I said on Diddy Kong Racing, so and the Blast Core team. So I haven't played Blast Core, but that's one of the games we want to get to.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they have some experience with it. I don't know why this game just it feels so unpolished compared to other Rare games, especially on the N64, where Rare seemed to have a really good grasp of using that controller.
Yeah, especially when you think, gosh, when did I think Banjo Kazooie came out in like '98?
Probably I could look it up, but I think I've
And
used all my internet today.
and Banjo Kazooie actually had some of that kind of third person, like when you had to use Kazooie to like shoot um eggs and shit. There was a little bit of that like aiming. So I don't know. I don't know why this one didn't really feel right. Um who
Yeah,
knows?
it's really hard to like we tried so hard to like get into this game and like it, and we're talking before like we recorded this, and honestly we actually had the idea of using a backlog episode for this one because it was
Yeah.
just it's just so meh. This game is absolutely mid-level at best, and it just has such a foundation of a good game inside of it that I really wish Rare had the opportunity to kind of make a second game and improve on it.
Yeah, I wish they would have either like a remake or a remaster of this would be really cool. I'd play it. Um I think the story is fun enough. It's got a lot of, little nostalgia. I'm just nostalgic for, that era in particular. I think Civilization peaked in 1999. I don't think I'm alone in that. Um
No,
uh
that's why there's no song called "Party Like It's After 1999."
yeah, cuz who gives a shit?
Yeah, exactly. Y2K
Party's
actually
over.
killed us all, and we're stuck in purgatory.
Yeah. Um where's I going with this?
That's how bad this
Oh,
game is. It's killing our train of thought.
it's yeah, I'm like, I can't remember what I was gonna say. But Diddy Kong, not Diddy Kong Racing. Donkey Kong 64 had some of this like third person shooter element added in. Like that game is weird, but I can't remember because I haven't played it in a long time and it's not on the Switch Online. But I have kind of a reminiscence that the, like the third person shooter portions of that game like also kind of felt like this when you're Diddy Kong and you have the little pea shooters, the peanut shooters, and Donkey Kong's um, like coconut shooter.
Yeah,
Do you
yeah.
remember that kind of stuff? You had to
I've
fight some
never,
bosses.
well,
Oh,
like I've been saying, I don't, or I
that's
haven't
right.
played a lot of N64 games because it wasn't my jam. But
Yeah,
no, I
I don't
do
think you're gonna like
remember.
Donkey Kong 64 either, because
Oh,
it's
I
like
don't think I
this
will.
and yeah, Donkey Kong 64 I think is like Jet Force Gemini and Banjo Kazooie had a baby.
See, Banjo Kazooie interests me because that one's been on the 360 after they bought Rare and stuff like that, and I've
Yeah,
I've watched some gameplay videos, and
that's a great game.
that looks like an absolutely wonderful game. So I'm definitely like down to play that, but I don't know. A lot more games on the N64 missed than hit for me. Like even Mario 64, I don't find to be a good game, and I recognize it as one of the best games ever made, and it moved the industry forward. But
Yeah,
I just don't think it's a good game anymore.
no,
And
I have nostalgia glasses for that one.
yeah, no, that's the other thing too. Is even the PS1 has a lot of misses on it because of the tank controls and no analog sticks, and they hadn't figured out how to do first-person shooters like Siphon Filter. Loved that game when I was young. Tried to play it again recently. Absolutely sucks ass. Just because of
Yeah,
the you have to use the L1 and the R1 buttons to turn the camera, but I think it's the same kind of strafing turn you have to do.
yeah,
Yeah. So
yeah.
I don't know.
I
I
felt
got some
yeah,
points written down,
yeah.
about
Go for
this
them.
game. So
Yeah, fire away.
uh, let's start with the negatives and finish on the positives because I don't know. Like I said, this game is very meh to me. We talked about it. This game only uses the inverted stick setup for manual aiming, which fucking pisses me off. The aiming's imprecise because you're trying to like put the crosshairs on the target and it keeps moving with the slightest like shake of your thumb.
It's way too sensitive.
Super sensitive. Again, you can't turn it down.
No.
Um, Auto aiming requires you need to be far enough away from the enemy. So if you get surprised by an enemy, you're just going to shoot down the hall.
Yep.
That happened to me a few times. You can't turn around easily. So if you get an enemy behind you, you have to do this like long, slow turn. It's probably quicker to run the circle of the level than it is to actually just find a way to turn around and shoot them.
Right.
You die a lot in this game because you have a health bar. It's this little circle down in the bottom left corner. They call it Gemini, and you can get more Gemini as you progress through the game, you'll find these little items that increase your health. It doesn't matter. Like I said, you're trying to find a sniper. He's picking away at you, and it'll take like 2, 3 health bars off just before you can even get your weapon up to find him, and then probably another 1 or 2 before you can shoot him because it takes about 2 shots of a pistol to hit him.
Yeah, and
Um,
you're having to kind of stand in the pocket and take shots while you're lining
yeah.
up your aim.
And my last negative points are the levels are actually very boring. That was another
Yeah.
takeaway from this game is I was not interested in exploring at all. The levels were corridors. Um, yeah, you had multiple ways you could go, but so what? It didn't encourage you to actually go somewhere. It didn't give you like a little hint that there might be something fun in this door over here, or you know anything other than you just find one of the 2 doors you can go through, and you just whichever one you go through first will get you to the end of the level. Yeah,
Yeah, and I think some of the frustrating thing about that was you can definitely see, oh, I need something, some other item to get to this, tribal or this, like extra backpack upgrade that's up here or whatever. Or
yeah,
looks like maybe there's a passage up there that I can't reach. But they're all over the place. It's almost like there's too many of them to where
yeah.
you
They
finish a
wanted to.
level and it's like you got 2 out of 8 tribals. It's like, well, where the fuck were the rest of them?
Yeah, they really wanted to extend the levels by making you come back, or sorry, extend the game by making you come back and do the levels over and over again.
Yeah.
And it would be fine if there was some purpose. Like, there's no shame in revisiting a level with another character for some reason, other than go find some hidden items. Like, if there was story based reasons to go, or if, like you said, there's one of those tribals that was up in a high point and you got close and a little text bubble popped up, goes, I can't jump that high, and then you get
Hmm.
the dog Lupus there, and all of a sudden you realize now you can jump that high.
Right.
So nothing hints at you on how to do anything in this game, and with the generically boring levels and the very meh graphical design of the levels, like graphically, like I said, this game is actually very pretty, but the levels are very bland.
Yeah.
uh,
I'd say if you have nostalgia for this game and you enjoy this game and you are a completionist type of player,
yeah,
there
go
is
get
a
yourself
lot.
checked.
Yeah. No, there's a lot of game here. If you are someone who likes to go through and replay levels as different characters and try to collect everything, there's a lot of, I mean, there's a reason to go back if that's the type of player
Yeah.
you are and you enjoy this game. I can see liking this game enough to want to do that.
uh,
I don't.
no. Okay, so I just shot off some negative points. So here's the positive points I have.
Yeah,
The
let's go.
graphically, the ants blow up very nice. Like, they put a lot of time into it's not just it keels over and dies. Like, the head pops off, the
Oh
armor
yeah.
everywhere. That was actually kind of like a really good detail because you're killing a bug, so you're not exactly offending anybody. So
Yeah, and the
blowing up,
sound is kind of good too. Like they
yeah.
splatter and like green blood flies everywhere.
Well, that was my next point. Is like the music is very ambient to the levels. It adds a sense of not so much tension but immersion to the level.
Mhm. Yeah,
And
I
the
love the
sound
music.
effects, yeah, the sound effects of, like you said, the ants blowing up actually are really good. It really gives you a sense of what you're doing. You're not out killing like babies. You're out killing stupid ants. Like, my wife is outside right now dumping ant poison on a ant hill.
This is this is right in that era when games would have that Dolby surround sound little tag on the box.
Oh yeah, yeah, and this one does too, and it is
Yep.
available in widescreen.
Yeah, and you can set it to widescreen. That was another thing that was cool because you can actually do that on the Switch Online version, and it makes it really look good. Um,
Yeah, same with the rare replay. It was
yeah, it's that kind of stuff is cool because
it
they're
is.
recognizing that they want to be at the peak, like the cutting edge of whatever the latest AV technology is, and
Well, oh
I
god, I
appreciate it.
still remember that time in history there when everything was available in like a 4:3 ratio or 16:9 ratio,
Mm-hmm.
aka widescreen, and you had to choose like you could still watch your TV shows on your old CRT TV there that weighed like as much as 3 buildings.
Yeah.
But you could go out and buy that projection widescreen TV there, and you had to set it, and then now you're paying premium for high def channels. And nowadays, if you don't get Netflix in 4K, you scream at somebody.
Yeah. This game was definitely made with those, cutting edge at the time, but like rear projection,
Yeah.
widescreen, big screen TVs were really becoming, a little bit more available to more people, and games like this were built for those. And same with like, I recognize some PlayStation games that also had this. Like I think Final Fantasy VIII was big for like cinematic experience, and the sound was better than it's ever been, and using like Dolby and THX and all that kind of stuff. So
Oh yeah.
that's I appreciated it because the sound was great.
Well, Dolby won out, and now everything uses Dolby. Atmos, I believe, is the most
Hmm.
immersive one you can buy. You know that
Well,
setup they have at a Best Buy there, where they get the
yeah,
most expensive equipment and they set it up so it sounds perfect.
yeah,
Yeah, I think that's Dolby Atmos right now.
that's how I played this. I took my Switch to Best Buy and I was like, I'm gonna use this, okay?
Oh man, people in my Best Buy be like, "Yeah, I don't care, man. They don't
Yeah,
pay me enough."
yeah, whatever.
Just, just plug it in. It's like, "Oh yeah, totally want to buy this 8K TV there, but first I have to see how it works with my PS5." Yeah, man, hook it up.
Yep,
As long as you buy the TV or not, I don't care. I'm gonna go get high.
sounds great.
Yeah, I think I
Sounds
might go
like I would
play
have
at Best
enjoyed
Buy.
this game more. Actually, it might have been worse, but um, it's going back to how the bugs like splattered and blew apart. Uh, this has got a T rating, which obviously, I mean, it's a shooter. I mean,
They're
you're
just
as
bugs, man.
as cartoony as it looks, you are running around with guns shooting shit. But the like because they were bugs and like little tribal alien little bear guys or whatever, it seems like they could um kind of hide a lot of kind of high violence into it. Like you're blasting these bugs apart. You can collect their heads. Did you notice that? If their
Oh,
heads
I
blow
didn't.
off, yeah, their heads blow off and they stay on the screen for a little bit, you can pick them up. Um,
I did not notice I was picking them up.
yeah, you go into your menu and it'll show how many heads you have, and you can also
Oh,
kill the
cool.
tribals and collect their heads too.
War trophies.
Yeah, so you could actually kill the hostages, and the little bears would blow apart, and you can take their heads.
This game was originally supposed to use a larger heads on the two human characters, but Nintendo kind of poo-pooed on the idea because they thought it would make them look like kids, and they didn't want to promote that type of violence to kids. But now you're talking about taking the heads of ants. It's like,
Yep, and little bears too.
Nintendo might have made the right choice on this one.
Yeah, I mean, it looks cartoony, but it's low key pretty violent.
Yeah. All right. So you ready to wrap this up? I mean, I can't believe we dragged 54 minutes or around what 50 minutes of this out.
Yeah, there's plenty to say about this game. It's not bad. It's
Yeah.
it's not bad. It's not good, but it's not bad. Surprisingly, like most of the, if you look at the Wikipedia page for the reception and the aggregate score, Metacritic's got it at 80 out of 100, which is pretty good. And most
Yeah.
of the game publications were giving it like in that 7.58, almost up some as high as 9 range. So
Except for the Cincinnati Enquirer that gave it a
yeah.
1.5 out of 4, but
Yeah,
nobody
fuck.
believes
What
them.
what kind of scale is out of four? Oh, I guess kind of like movies, like a 4 star or whatever. Um, yeah, I almost don't count that one because that's not someone who plays video games. They're like, hey, review this game for some reason.
Yeah. Oh
Like
man, we got it.
what newspaper do you know that reviews video games?
Ones that are trying to get the youth audience.
Yeah.
No. I only listened to Nintendo Power back in that time. Everything else is
Well, Nintendo
garbage to me.
Power would have told you 9 out of 10.
Oh yeah, it's probably made their top sales list for a while too.
It
No,
actually says what was one that said it's legacy. IGN ranked it as number 20 in their top 25 N64 games of all time, but that was in 2000. So I don't know if you were to say if you were to have the same um, ranking, or like a similar type of ranking nowadays, 25 years later almost. I wonder if this would rate as high or if it would be higher. um who knows? I don't know, because a lot of those Nintendo 64 games, as we discussed, uh, aren't particularly good nowadays with
Yeah.
better
Well, some games from
technology.
this era, even though they don't hold up to play again, they still have their mark on history based on the fact that they did do something to the industry to move it forward.
Yeah.
So, if anything, I would take away from this game, like I said, the graphics inside of the game did some pretty remarkable stuff with things like the reflection, because we have RTS now, which I don't know what it stands for, but basically it's like real time reflection. So, if you play a game like Spider Man on the PS5 versus
Yeah.
Spider Man on the PS4, when you climb a glass building, you're going to see Spider Man's reflection, but on the PS4, it stops at a certain level. On the PS5, you'll actually continue going up and you'll look behind you and you'll see that you're actually reflecting the stuff in the city as opposed to like a pre-made picture that they use as a quote unquote reflection. And that's what
Yeah,
this
that's
game does, is it uses the character model underneath to create a reflection.
yeah, that's really cool.
So yeah, it's a little bit a little bit of attention to detail that really adds to the game, in my opinion, and actually bumps up the score more than I would have given it originally.
Yeah, they sneaky low key put some pretty cool stuff into this game.
Yeah, it's good on a good look on the developers. So you know,
Yeah.
it's impressive that they could do this, especially on the N64, because I hate to say it, but the cartridge based console was a bad move for Nintendo. It
Oh
really
yeah.
limited them what they could actually do. But their big thing was, hey, no load times, and everybody's like, oh, I don't care.
Yeah, I don't give a shit. Whatever
Yeah,
loads behind it is better than what didn't
yeah,
load. Like, um, I don't know. They followed it up with Perfect Dark, and that game is
yep.
fantastic. So,
Absolutely. Like I said, this is not a slight against Rare. It's just a very middle of the pack game.
all right. So I'm gonna let you start. What score are you giving this out of 10?
Out of 10, I'm gonna give this a 5. Like I've say it's a middle of the pack game. I'm gonna put it as a middle of the pack game.
All right. Yeah, I'm gonna go a little bit higher. I'm gonna give it a 6.5. If you would have asked me right when I started playing it, it would have been much lower. But as I played more of it and got used to it, I think I got used to it rather than the game got any easier. Um, but it takes a bit to kind of acclimate yourself to the controls and stuff. So once you kind of get rolling, it's a little bit better.
I will
So
never be an inverted controller player. Like
yeah,
it's my brain is not wired to think that way.
it's tough. It's tough
So
to deal with. But 6.5 for me.
yeah, no, like I said, healthy 5. It loses a lot on the controls, the bland levels. It loses more there. The I'm not going to say confusing story, but the very weak storytelling that they do in this game kind of loses
Yeah.
some points. Gameplay would be more fun if they fix the controls. Like I said, there's a great game underneath this. They just need to modernize it. They could take this property again. Rare could pop out with this property again and call it new IP and just make it an updated version, add more story elements, do what Rare does best nowadays, and this game would probably be right up there with Perfect Dark.
Oh, up there with Perfect Dark. Jesus.
Well, the new one that's coming out, right?
The new
Like,
Perfect Dark?
yeah, there's a new Perfect Dark coming out. They announced it at the Xbox showcase.
Neat. I don't watch those. Uh,
Oh well, remember we were talking credibility?
oh yeah, I have none.
Just some
Oh wow.
guy talking about video games. All right, buddy.
Yeah, I think there is a game. I don't know if it ever came out, called Tamarin. That's a spiritual successor to Jet Force Gemini, is what they're calling it. But
Oh,
that
seriously.
was as of 2019. So I don't know if that actually came out or not. It doesn't really look like Jet Force Gemini either. You're playing as like this weird little bear.
Monkey thing.
Yeah, little weird monkey. I don't understand how that's a spiritual successor, but whatever.
You said it didn't come out, but it says it's available on Steam.
Well, whatever. Another ding to my credibility. It came out to no fanfare. How about that?
um, yeah, all reviews are mixed. 69 reviews. Nice.
Nice.
Oh
Well,
yeah, I see where it is. The ants are back as the enemy.
oh, gotcha. Yeah. Well, there you have it, folks. If you want to play a great game, play Jet Force Gemini, and then go play Tamarin and be underwhelmed both times.
Yeah. Uh, if you made it this far, thanks for listening.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like we're trying so hard to stretch an episode out of this because we really had nothing in the bank, but we didn't. We managed to make it go for about an hour, and we're going to stick with it. So,
Yeah. I
Sam,
would you go back to this game ever? I don't think you
nope,
would. No.
absolutely not. Now
I
that we've recorded, I do not need this game in my life at all. Done with
I
it.
might I don't know. I always say that, but I know I'm not going to ever have time to, but I would consider going back and trying to finish this game. I got about halfway through. I know there's a big boss battle that I'm up against. And then I think I was watching some playthrough after the part where I'm at, and the dog gets in like a little doggy tank, and you get to ride around a little tank as the dog, and that sounds awesome.
This game should just be a dog fighting the ants.
Yeah, he's the by
So
far the best character. So
absolutely. So we got coming up in the next few episodes. We have Metroid Zero mission, which we're going to try to do when I get back from vacation. So it should
hell
be
yeah.
like a week after this one comes out. Streets of Rage 2, which may be the one that makes it before Metroid, depending on how I do. I
Hmm.
just uh, I just got the was not the the gravity suit, so I'm back to kicking ass and not running around the Zero mission part.
Oh fuck.
Fuck, I hate that.
Yeah.
But we'll get into that on the actual episode. Sam, do you want to sign us off?
Yeah. Thanks for telling the folks what's coming up next, because fuck if I know, usually, right? And then I actually opened the calendar so that I could see if I could figure it out, and it's not in there.
Calendar's not up to date.
No. But also, while you're off, I think Alan and I are going to make some plans to review Final Fantasy Dissidia for the PSP. So that should be a
Oh
fun
yeah.
time too. Yep.
And then we got the
Cool.
recording for the second episode of Retro Bites. By the time
Yep.
you hear this, the first episode should have just come out to the public. We got the second episode recording happening. You can join our Patreon to get the episode midway through the month as opposed to the end of the month, but it's up to you.
Yeah.
Sa- Sam, sign us
Excellent.
off.
Yeah, that's all I got. So until next time, have a great week, everybody.